think with charity, it's just so important. We can sometimes focus a lot on making money and serving our clients and customers, but forget like there is a bigger cause and a bigger purpose.
Trigger warning, note that this episode contains mentions of assault but no detailed descriptions.
Hello, and welcome back to the podcast Biz on the Brain with your host, Annemarie, where we talk about how to be your most authentic and unapologetic self in life and business, to attract your dream clients, to live a fulfilled life, and to just really be in the flow, really lead from the soul, tap into your intuition, and just find your community, because it's all about following your heart, I would say. And in this podcast episode with the wonderful Queen, who is a speaker and a TV personality, and she's done so many things. She's traveled around the world, she's changing women's lives, and she's such a breath of fresh air. I was also flitting from topic to topic, and we landed really about what it means to travel, what impact it has, and how it can be so life-changing and educational, and really also bring people closer together, and what it means to travel as a woman, especially by herself. You know, the implications of safety, of community, of cultural faux pas, and just being really aware and mindful of how you actually inhabit the world and what you say and how you express yourself, and coming home, especially also how you then represent other cultures in your own lens, and how you may be questioning all of the things you grew up with, all of the habits that you have developed over time, and all of the mindsets that may be shifting. So without further ado, because this is a pretty long episode, because we could go on and on about it forever. I love those topics. I love travel, everything around it, and just the sheer impact it can have on your soul and mind and the way you interact in this world. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Queen. All right, hello. Thank you so much for being on this podcast. Queen, we're just the most amazing name, and you are the most amazing person, and we're vibing so much. So I'm so happy to have you on and to get to introduce your amazing energy to all kinds of people who I'm sure enjoy it. So introduce yourself, what do you do, because you're a PR extraordinaire. So you go.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me, Annemarie. I'm so happy and grateful. I am here with you. My name's called Queen. I'm based in London, UK. I'm an international motivational speaker, TV presenter, PR media coach, and a publicist. And I love traveling. I love life, and I love all things creativity.
I love it. And I love all of it too.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to this interview today.
Me too, because this is just a free-flowing conversation and we don't know where it will take us. But how did you get started? You're like such a colorful persona with so many different things that are also very much related to it. But how did you decide you wanted to be basically in like the spotlight of sorts? You wanted to speak, use your voice, because that is powerful. And for me, one thing that I've always struggled with showing up confidently is my voice. Like literally when I get super stressed, it just like taps out. It's like, we're not doing this, we're being too stressed, and then it will physically manifest. So you're like the opposite. So how did that happen? It must be your special gift. I love it.
Oh my goodness. Well, I think you're really fabulous and great, by the way. So thank you, you too. And I think that great minds, you know, they think alike. So we kind of must have found each other.
Yes. I don't know how, but I love it.
Oh, thank you. So basically, how I got started, I really think it went back far back as when I was a young child. So for some reason, I really just found myself using my hands and being creative. And one of the things that I did was I was doing hair, like I did like my own hair, for example. And I did my mum's hair, and she saw my gift, and she would allow me to do her hair in extensions. And someone saw this and they were like, wow, can you do my hair as well? And so from that moment, she became my first client, that lady. And from then onwards, I began to have more and more clients. And it just became a thing where I just loved using my hands and just being creative and putting my...
And real quick, for the audience who can't see you, you have the most amazing box braided hair, like super long, super, just like so gorgeous. And yeah, just check out the thumbnail, just so you have some reference. Go on.
Oh, thank you so much. So basically just doing these braids and everything, and it just became this thing when loads of people wanted me to do their hair. So I had loads of friends and family, and it just became bigger and bigger. But what I really noticed that was really interesting is like I thought, okay, well, if I can do that, then I like singing. Okay, so let me sing on stage. And okay, well, I like talent shows, let me compete. And I just started to find myself do more and more. And this led me into beauty pageants, and from beauty pageants into TV stuff, TV work and everything. From TV work, I eventually hired a coach, and she helped me to figure out that I am really good at PR and media. And so she was like, you've got to work with women entrepreneurs and help them to be in the media. And my work involved a lot of travel, like speaking at these events and traveling to go and sing at shows and going to lots of conferences. So my traveling just really went to another level. And I just really found that business, travel, and media just became my life. So it was very interesting.
I love that. It just sounds like you just went with your inner guidance. You just went with the flow and just like surrender to the experience. Like that's what I get. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. That's exactly how it felt. It just felt like I just really, it's almost like there were these steps laid out for me, and I just kept on taking the steps, and the steps lead me to that next opportunity and that next moment.
I love that. Yeah, it's just really about following your this inner knowing almost. And that's like one of the big topics overarching in this podcast, just because it's so different for everybody. But no matter how intuitive or sensitive you are, everybody has that inner knowing, and it's so easy to override it. It's painful, but that society is something that it expects of you to just follow the flow that is not actually the actual flow. It's just something that is pre-scripted, it's very structured, and then it's very unnatural to a certain degree. And so I love that you just did that and got to see the world, and because it's a lifestyle, and it's not for everybody, but it's just perfect for you, and you just accepted it even at such a young age. I love how everything is just like woven together by just joy. When I think it's just like hair and dance and performing and singing, and I don't know if you dance. Did you say dance? But singing? Oh, okay. I just projected a little bit. That was me projecting, because that's what I did.
No, I definitely did it, but I just realized that like I'm better at acting and singing than dance, because I was doing performing arts for a while, but I did go dance classes, and I was really good back then. And then I think it's like I'd stopped going, so I still have like natural rhythm, but the moves, routines, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, same. Same. But yeah, travel keeps you fit as well, I found.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
So what is the most amazing thing you've had on your travels that you would have never had, like could even fathom happening to you? Like when you were a child, you're like, this happened. You're like, nah.
Well, in looking back now, because of the fact that this building is no longer there, this establishment, I would say going into the actual Twin Towers in America, just like an opportunity to go in that and go to the top, like right to the top, and just look down and see everything and just behold the beauty of New York, and just at that level. But the thing is, about 2 weeks later is when the actual horrible 9/11 attack happened. And so it was almost like, oh my goodness, I got to see this before this was just completely wiped out. So it was like to me, it's one of the most pivotal moments, because I remember being it happened when I was actually a teenager. So I was in university, just about to start university. No, I think I started like 2 weeks after or something. And I remember just being at university, and I was doing my induction, and then I just heard the news, and I was like, oh my goodness, we were there just like on our summer holidays. So it was really one of the actual most incredible moments of my life, because this place is, it's so heartwarming and so remarkable and just so memorable.
Yeah, that must have been a very incisive moment. Because I was in Germany. I didn't quite know what was going on. The only information that I really got was the next day when people came into class with like magazines and the spread of it, and I didn't understand it. It just didn't compute. I was like, no, it didn't hit me as hard. It was everywhere, and I had this weird disconnect in my brain where I couldn't process the implications of it. And, also being in Europe was a bit farther removed and didn't know much about politics and the bigger implications this would have.
Yes.
It felt like a movie.
Yeah.
In a bad way, like in a weird, trippy way.
Yeah, I agree. It seemed too real to be true. It was like, no, it felt like a movie, like you said. It just felt like, no, this can't possibly be real.
Right? And also at the same time where all of these conspiracy theories were like, yeah, this was actually just staged. So I just really didn't know what was going on. I'm like, is it staged? Is this promo? Is this like a deep fake? Which wasn't, it was didn't exist then, but like there was all of these rumors too. So I was like, I don't know how to deal with this. I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't know how old I was. Yeah. Pre-tween or something. Yeah, and it wasn't that big of the teachers didn't know how to talk about it, so we just brushed it over and like went on our business. And that's, I think, so typical for so many things like in life. We're just getting on autopilot. We're inundated with all of these news every day. And so like I made a conscious choice to very much limit my use of any news related articles. Like the internet will update me and then I can do my research because I don't just take it from TikTok. And it's so hard to be living in that 21st, like in the century, really. It's just so crazy. And it's so easy to get lost. So I find it so inspiring that you just still have this inner knowing, you're doing this and you're spreading joy and helping other women as well in that vein, because I'm sure you're not only helping them with the technical issues of getting featured in all of these podcasts and magazines, but you're also being emotionally knowledgeable and supportive in that way, right?
Oh, thank you so much. Yes. Yeah, most certainly. I try to really, add that impact. And one of the things I also do, which is a little bit outside of PR and media, is I actually speak at a lot of universities and help the students. Yeah, I sort of try to help students to basically achieve success in their education, to get their degrees. I share my story of my own, how I got my degree, because I had challenges, and I share my story of what I went through and how it wasn't an easy road, but I got there. And so I help them to achieve first-class degrees, or even just pass their degrees with flying colors. And some of these students are international students, so they're not having the same, they have a very short time to really grasp everything in the UK and understand the system, or even in their own countries, there's a lot to get through quickly if they are a national student. And so sometimes that internet, like my perspective, going to Nigeria or the Netherlands, or going to Turkey and speaking, I'm given a different perspective. I spoke even virtually on at a lecture virtually, a Mexican class. I got to speak to some Mexican students at one of the Mexican universities. So that was really nice. And I think it was, I don't remember what university it was, but because I wasn't actually booked to speak. It was a random thing where they just randomly invited me, and it was very quick. So I had a quick moment. But yeah, there's just been so many different moments like that. And then I was really big on charity fundraising when I used to organize beauty pageant events. I won 3 different charity awards. And so it's been like also a lot of my work as well has been to do with philanthropy work and charity work.
And how do you integrate charity into your business? Like, why do you think that's such a big deal? I think it's really important. But like, what does it mean to you and how do you make it work?
Such a good question. So I think of charity, it's just so important to raise money for charity, to make it be a part of our business in one way or another, because I've noticed that it is something that is sometimes neglected in the entrepreneurial world, because we can sometimes focus a lot on making money and serving our clients and customers, but forget like there is a bigger cause and a bigger purpose. One of the biggest purposes that we have is to give back. And so I try to add this sometimes into some of the, like I will do something like, for example, it could be a way to give back to one of the entrepreneurs. So I'll do like a cash prize for like a woman in business, so that can be a way to give back in that sense. So we once did a £250 cashback cash prize in a competition in our Facebook group. So that's one of the ways. And I think we did £150 one as well. So that was another thing we did. But we also have raised money for some charities around the time when there was the whole George Floyd case. So we did a lot of diversity trainings and work around that. Oh, sorry, my mouth went a bit funny. Apologies. That
No problem. You still look lovely.
Oh, thank you. I just heard this weird sound. So basically, around the time of George Floyd, there was actually a lot of crisis going on in reference to, what is happening in reference to racism and discrimination and diversity and all of these things. And so what I did is I basically gave some trainings, and a lot of women wanted me to host these trainings and everything. And so what I did is I put together these paid masterclasses, but I was like, okay, we're donating a percentage of the money to Black Lives Matter and some other charities that support Black causes. And then I also raise money for NSPCC charity, and I often do this through some of the events I have organized as well. So we organized, for example, She Rises in the Media online conference, and so we donated a percentage from the profits to the NSPCC charity as well. And so typically all throughout, I must admit, like even in the other business, the pageant business, like a lot of our focus was, if we have events, we're putting money towards charity. So we'll do raffle draws, we would do encouraging contestants to raise money for charity. So there was always something charitable that we were doing, and whether it's this business or my other business before as well.
I love that because, I haven't really been exposed to any of that. So the way I always thought with charity is like, well, first I have to sustain myself.
Yes.
In business, especially as a solopreneur and especially with fluctuating income, that's
Yes.
always been my focus. And that comes with, mental blocks around money making and all of that good stuff that I need to unlearn, because I really want to and kind of need to create a team around me to outsource tasks that completely drain my energy, because I'm just a type who has a spark of idea, who has energy and passion, and then it just poof dissolves into nothingness. Then I'm left to try to dredge on, and society doesn't really understand that. They're like, no, you have to keep going at 100% every day. I'm like, that's not sustainable.
Never sustainable.
No, especially if you have ADHD, you can't control it. But yeah, and then I'm like, I do want somebody like that, but I really want them to be paid really well. I want them to give them like benefits, and like they can holiday, like they have flexibility. Like I want to give them all of the stuff that I wish I had at minimum as an intern. I do not want to get somebody to not be paid and then paid in like exposure or experience, because I've experienced that, and I do not want that for anybody.
Exactly.
So, that's always been like this conundrum I've been in so far, where I'm like, okay, I really want to help other people, but I also want to be charitable. And like one of my goals with my business is to ultimately have like such a big network and such a big like company of sorts that is settled in so many different bases around the world. So merging my trouble, so I can actually have like an offshoot that is more in a charitable side. So my ultimate goal would be to work with local communities, so that I don't come in and tell them what to do, but I want to raise local communities. And the goal for me is to actually teach young women, young girls video. That would be my ideal goal, because I'm so annoyed by the video industry, anything related to it, like videographers, video editors. There's so many men, right?
Too many.
Too many. And you can tell instantly a man made this. The story is told by a man. And we see this in Hollywood, and there's been all of this debate about it. But even so, as a freelancer, I'm always over the moon when I was like, oh my God, you're a woman, you do video editing? Like, oh my God, let's be friends. Like it's so rare to find them.
Yeah.
And what I've learned by teaching myself video editing is that I actually can tell my own story. I can tell people what goes on in my head. I can understand and communicate better. And through my travels, I found that, what you usually see in the travel industry, like hosted travel shows, is that this white man comes over, finds everything exotic and intriguing, and then tells something about history and culture from a white-centered perspective. And then everything is just like fascinating. But what I would love to do is I would just rock up and shove a microphone in people's faces, and then tell me about your history. Like, tell me like about your family. Why do you like to make this pottery? And why do you make this garment? Like, what do you use for dyeing? And just ask them the questions and see the passion in their eyes for their family business, how it ties in with the community, how they do make a difference. And with video, you can make it so captivating. You can make it so amazing that it will, maybe drive customers or just like convey that sense that is coming from them, like that captures their essence and not just me slapping on a soundtrack that sells some emotion that I want the audience to feel. I want it to be more intrinsic. And if you get people to give that skill to, like if young girls could capture stories from their community, they can tell their own story. So I don't have to come in as this white person, like making a documentary about places, but they get themselves. And it's a marketing tool. And then all around it, it would be a business skill. If they do video, like, I don't know, like, I don't want to subscribe that. I don't want to put it on them, but it's just like the basis of like, you can run a business. So basically you make money for your family, which is great. So they will keep you in school in the first place. That's like the sneaky goal, but like, I'm not going to teach you, like you still have your teachers and community. Like I'm not going to impose, but also if I had this network all around the world, that could mean I could take all of these amazing young girls and they could be interns all around the world. Because to me, the biggest teacher that is travel. Like nothing else like travel opens your perspective, teaches you about yourself, your culture, and about how things could be, or opens up your brain to new impulses. And it's such a high threshold, such a privilege to do that. So like that would be my ideal goal, like teach kids video, but then also make them travel, but also do it in an ethical way that is really cultural centric to what we have. So like I would just like help that. Like that would be my goal.
That sounds so amazing and so fascinating, and I think it's so needed because, like you said, there's just so much that's going on that's not really about their experience. Like the experience of a child or the experience of a mother, the experience of a father. It's always about somebody else's perspective. They've just put that out there, and it's like, oh, this is it, but it's not always very it's not very,
it's not fair.
Not fair. That's the word. That's the word, not fair. That is it.
And at the core of it, like when I go travel to a country and I tell people like, I'm going to this country, and then they come at me for a stupid stereotype. Oh no, watch out for your organs. They might steal them. And I'm like, excuse me? Have you ever been? No, but I read a book. I'm like,
it's always
fiction. Exactly. It was like some abduction story and went in the newspaper. I was like, yeah, it's still not emblematic of that country. You're still very limited in your knowledge. You're still being very dismissive, and it's not okay. And so I always battle with that. I always try to educate people. I'm like, no, look, I survived. This country is fine. And especially as a woman, a lot of women are scared, for good reason, of traveling by themselves and of traveling to certain countries. And I can tell you, in every single country I've been to, I've had moments where I felt really scared. Just because I am a woman. It doesn't matter where I am.
No.
There's always rules. There's always ways. You have to be street smart. And it's just a different level of precaution, but it's always there. And it's not a reason to keep you at home and safe in your house, because most accidents happen at home. So there you go.
Wow. Oh my goodness. That's actually quite an interesting thing to know, because I think that it's so good to know that it's like flying, right? They say that a lot of flights, people think that that's where the accidents happen, but really it's the safest form of transportation compared to driving. Driving is where there's a lot of more accidents and so on and so forth.
And that's the thing, because you're on autopilot most of the day. So you're, especially if you're on social media, like if you constantly have your routine, if you always are at that time out, if you already post about all of the restaurants in your vicinity, any person could basically know exactly what you do any time of day. Like you're so like internet is really scary, and especially because I still do travel blogging and covering places and things, and I tag everything I need to put into location. I have to be so mindful of how much I show while I'm there. I usually do it with like a delay in a couple of days, and sometimes tourism boards I worked with were really upset about it. They were like, no, we paid you to be there right now, so you need to post about it right now. I'm like, anybody can just stalk me. I will not do this.
Exactly. No way. It's not
unnecessary. Yeah.
And you did the right thing.
Yeah. But it's just, thank you. Yeah. And there's like so many things, especially when you're at home, you don't think about it because you're so used to like autopilot driving home the same route. You don't even are on alert as you usually are. So like when I travel, I'm much more in tune with myself, much more mindful. And I don't want to tell you that you need to be scared. That's different. But you just are much more on alert. You're still enjoying, you're still vibing, you're having a good time. But you're like, I always see things like out of the periphery. Even if I'm just like having my headphones on and walking down, like I'm literally skipping around, being super obnoxiously touristy, I will still be kind of like mindful, like dolphin braining my way around.
Exactly. Yes.
Getting really,
Yeah. You just have to, right? Like, I mean, it's like I remember anybody. Yeah, and the thing is, like, I mean, I think because I'm from Nigeria, like our heritage, even though I was born here and I've lived here all my life in the UK, but originally, I mean, in terms of heritage, my parents are Nigerian, and so I go there often, and I love it, and it's just so amazing, like to go to like Lagos or Port Harcourt, and go to like the capital Abuja and so on and so forth. And some parts are safer, but where we're from is not as safe. And so like it's so funny because I went with my dad once and my cousin and my aunt, we all went together once. And like my dad has a very different approach. And so he's very much like, just in a way, just do what you want. Like, you're fine. Like he doesn't really have that kind of wariness in him the way that my mother does.
A lot of men don't. Women are, we have to. And we also train, passed on, like, the way, especially when you have kids, you raise them, like, be careful when you climb the tree. It's already like you're brainwashing your kids instead of just like, watch where you're going, feel into your gut, feel into your body, whatever. It's like, be afraid, be careful, be wary. It's like, you constantly hear that. So when I traveled at first, especially when I don't travel and then I want to travel again, I'm sitting in this fear of all of this anxiety. As soon as I step onto an airplane, then it's gone. But like this uncertainty, I always experience it, even though I've traveled for like a decade now. Like we could drop me anywhere in the world, right?
And you're good.
I'd be fine. I have this. It's a skill. I think it's a skill. Like drop me anywhere in the world, I'll figure it out. Like I even had instances where I booked a hostel, I rocked up, and it was a demolition site and stuff like that. So like, I have to think on my feet. This is not like what everybody deals with every day. It's stressful. And so, you're automatically much more in tune, but not a lot of people allow that. Like, I've had this one instance, which was really sad, when I visited a friend in Dublin and we were having fun on St. Patrick's Day, and she was like living an hour outside. And we were like broke students, so we decided to walk back at night instead of taking a bus. Which usually was fine, but the roommate, who was actually from Dublin, was like, yep, it's 10 p.m. I'm going to go out. It's not safe anymore. I'm going home right now. And we were like, no, don't be like that. You turn out of here. Especially guys. I was like, wait, what? I was a bit like, you mean that? And he's like, yeah, absolutely, I do. But my friends didn't take it seriously. But we walked home and I was always like on guard. I was like, okay, we're not going through this park. I was like constantly rerouting people. It doesn't feel safe. Like not the street, like, I have a good grasp on like some intuition with like some streets really feel off. I don't know what it is. But anyway, proof right. So
it's good to know that. It's good to know like have that plan of where you're going. And I was thinking about it yesterday. Like I had this exact conversation about women yesterday, just this exact thing. Someone was talking about it in a video, and they're just saying that women, like they actually hire women in some parts of the Middle East to be bodyguards because we are more like intuitive. It's almost like we have a sixth sense, and so we get things more. Yeah,
this kind of mothering instinct, I guess, in some form. And also like we have to also read, especially if you grew up like in an abusive household to like to an extreme. You're like people pleasers especially are trained to be so aware of minute details, shifts in energy, shifts in like facial or patterns that other people display. So they can instantly tell, oh God, they're angry now. No, I'm not. And you're like, okay, backtrack.
Yeah.
You just know, like, it was going to improve. You suddenly feel there's a lot of a fight, whatever.
Oh God,
like
there's this feeling inside of you.
Like, let's just finish the story real quick. Basically,
yes.
Split. Everything was good, except for this one guy who didn't believe any of that. He was actually beaten on the front step of his house. Like, as he was putting the key, he was robbed and beaten. And in the hospital, he was so traumatized, he left with the next flight after he was recovered a bit.
Oh my God.
He was like, never gonna go back. And it's not about Dublin.
No.
Everybody else. Like, it can happen anywhere. but because he was laughing about it, he didn't take it
He
seriously.
didn't know. Yeah, like how
Didn't even pay any attention. Sure, he was also a little bit drunk, but not that much. But it was like ironic that it hit him out of all of us who could have been robbed alone on our
Oh my
doorstep.
goodness. That is really, it's very, and I think sometimes things like that can be like quite like it's like the word you mentioned, traumatic.
It was traumatic. He was
Yeah. I mean, it probably just, especially when it doesn't seem like, because I mean, it's not, Dublin's not even meant to be known as somewhere where things happen anywhere, but Dublin is like somewhere where you think, oh, it's such a lovely, lovely place. Like if you compare it to some parts of the world where it's meant to be known to be dangerous.
yeah, where it's like where people have the stereotype like, oh, don't go to the Middle East, or like I don't know, I don't want to like say stereotypes. Let's not say anymore. No, but like people have so many stereotypes. Name a country, people will have a negative connotation attached to it usually.
They do, and then
or
go then.
glorified overly. Like, for instance, I love Japan, and people were like, "Oh my god, Japan, this and that, everything's amazing." And I'm like, "Yes, but or like when I lived in Sweden, there's so many Germans who dream of going to Sweden, and I was like, "It's great, yes, but." I can.
know the good and bad.
Yes, I can talk to
Every
any
country. Yes, there's good and bad everywhere.
I just need to know. You just need the information to be making decisions about it, because there is no such thing as the perfect place, the perfect country. And
Exactly.
that's what it's.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes, I definitely think that like you said, traveling is about it's there's so many adventures and there's so much wonderfulness that we can get from traveling. And I have definitely experienced that. Like there's been so many countries or, I remember when I was in Turkey and I was on, this boat party and I was singing. They moved me to sing at this boat party event. So it was like this huge, it was like this massive ship, and it was just huge. Because usually like when I've been on a boat, I was thinking more of like a small thing. I didn't know it was going to be this huge thing. So I don't even know if it was a boat or a ship or what, but it was massive. And there were so many people on this. And I was like, wow, I'm going to be singing on this. So I went to the top and I was singing and the sea was just beautiful. I think we left a bit early. And then by the time we got back, it was like nighttime and it was like, and I definitely think that I prefer to travel in groups or I prefer to meet people out there when I travel. But I have had to do a lot of solo traveling as well because I used to organize events. And so even if it's just like going to a different city, I couldn't just go with someone, and I've had times where like I've gone to a place and I am very wary of my stuff. Or it could be like with Maine, they give us this like hotel or something, hotel room, and it's like, okay, there's nothing valuable here. And then I go downstairs and then we find out that somebody's stolen something, right? And it's like, what did they steal? And then we find out it's like something like pillows from the hotel room. And it's like, what? Like, is that meant to be valuable? Like, what's going on? And it's like, oh, for goodness sake,
Or hidden cameras. Like, I want to go to Seoul soon, and I realized they have a huge hidden camera problem. They're like going on the street for it. Like, you have to be wearing in public restrooms, in hotel rooms, Airbnbs. They're everywhere. And so, like, you can go to a local like art store and they sell these red cards, so you can hold it in front of the camera, like you have phone, and it's just be detecting cameras left and right. And I was like,
oh my goodness,
be exaggerated. Like there is a real danger of that. And so
that's another thing, actually. That's a good point. I mean, that's something that I've been learning about a lot recently. And it's just so sad because it is really just a form of, it's almost like people are just invading our privacy and we don't have any privacy anymore. And it's really sad.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's easy to be like, yeah, I'm not on the internet, I'm safe. In this day and age, it's so funny. There's like these accounts on TikToks I sometimes see, and this lady, like people challenge her, like, you don't know what my name is, you don't see my profile pic, like, I challenge you. And then she just always finds out their birthdays, their names, she goes into the details, and she just doxes them basically.
Wow, I just have hack things.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't give out the address exactly, but I think it's already a great one. Like, it's impressive. But usually it's your friends. They will just basically not rat you out, but like they reveal where you are, because there's a lot of people who don't take up the precautions of like not showing what's outside of their window, or not showing the address, or not showing their typical habits and favorite restaurants and stuff like that. Right. So like if I go to the same place over and over again when I travel, then I'm just like not going to tell anybody about my favorite place because
Exactly.
then they know as soon as I'm like in London, I'm always going to this place. So like, yeah, that makes me vulnerable. And it's so sad because I would love to tell everybody.
I know. It's like you're just so street smart because you've had the experiences. And I think sometimes we take it for granted. It's like, oh, this is a cool place. But I think even seeing, I mean, I know it's to do with the media, but like seeing Kim Kardashian, like the robbing that she went through and the fact that she was just, getting on with activities and I'm in Paris and all of this. And she was just thinking like just carefree. And then I think when I saw what happened to her, that did also make me realize that like, yeah, you've got to like, when you're in the place, don't let everybody know you're in that place right at that point. Leave the place and then post the Instagram story. And I think also it taught me, and just over time, I've really learned to cut down on sharing. Like, it's not always important to share. It's not always good to share everywhere. And, even when I go on holiday, I must admit, like, I sometimes do not even tell people where I am. So I'll be like, oh, I'm somewhere in Europe. And they will be probably wondering, where are you in Europe?
I would probably be able to tell.
Yeah, exactly. I think some people probably know, but I don't ever say anything until I get back into the UK. And it's like, I enjoyed myself in Spain, or I was in Amsterdam or something.
Yeah.
But really, like, I could have just easily said it, but it's because of trying to be private and protect my, where I'm staying. And if they do know, that's okay. But at least a lot of people won't know,
But it's a typical strategy for robbers. Like they will see, oh, you're on holiday, so nobody's home. Like that is a typical wording the police say like during summer holidays. So like, please don't make it obvious when you're going back, when you just left. Because people can monitor that really easily. Or if you're a habitual person, you're always going out at that time of the day, and somebody can easily stalk you and then find out exactly where you live, exactly what your habits are when you're not home. It's so easy. And especially if you're living in a country where the police don't really care about assaults.
That's the thing. Some countries like that. I won't even saying which ones, but yeah, there are.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also basically most countries. Like,
yeah.
yeah, like there's countries where people were like, oh yeah, it's such a beautiful country. And I keep telling people it's pretty safe as a woman, but it still doesn't mean that anybody will help you. Like I've had cases where it was like verbally assaulted and threatened to be raped in front of a whole room of people. Nobody did anything except for she was speaking out and her boyfriend dragged her out of the room because he was afraid for her, but not me. Nobody did.
Oh no,
I didn't call it nothing, and I locked myself in a room, and the room could have easily been kicked in. Like that was the worst night of my life. Nobody did anything. Only when like some other man got in a fight with them, and he was beaten, then that's when they called the police. But not for a woman who might like be assaulted. No big deal.
Goodness. Hey, it's quite, and I think a lot of things that are happening right now as well is people will rather pick up their phone and film the thing than actually report it or step in or do something. That's another thing.
Yeah.
Which is really sad.
And it's the really scary part because you don't know, especially in like places like the US where people can have a gun and then shoot around. Like even if you just knock on their door, boom,
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, they always say like you shouldn't play hero, and I get that.
Right.
But it's usually because nobody does anything. Like so many times on the street, I was accosted, and people went about their day. They looked at me, they just went around like they didn't care. And I was like, you have to be a crazy banshee to get people away from you because nobody's doing that. And then it bugs me so much. And then people. That's why I don't like to say where it was, because this happens like every country, most countries. Name a country I've been to. I was usually like having such a story like to tell in native place. And it's a women's thing. So like it doesn't mean that you should have trouble because it can happen in your street, especially because you are there. You're an easy target, especially as a solo woman. If you don't have like obvious like man protection, which is still hate that, but yeah, it's usually a good deterrent. Or we're fake wedding ring stuff,
things like that.
Dog.
Oh, a big oh, I need a Rottweiler. A Rottweiler. That would be like really like the best way, you know?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people do leave dogs in their home for this reason. They go on holiday, but there's the big dog that, you know, or they have neighbors. Oh, some people have really nosy neighbors, which is actually a good thing because it's like, what are you
in that case
doing? I mean, some people have like, yeah, there are some neighbors that are really like, they will tell you before anything happens. They'll be like, yeah, someone was next to your house.
Yeah.
Who
was that? Like, someone who was that? Do you have like a secret suitor? Like, what's going on? Like, they have to check in with you.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't have that. Yeah. I haven't had that in many places. So
how many? What kind of countries have you been? I mean, because I know you've been to loads of countries. How many have you been to so far, or like the cities and states?
well, I've counted 40 last time I checked, but not all of them. I've been very like deeply like now I really made it my goal to be, because travel isn't very sustainable and environmentally friendly, right? So I always try to be there at least a month or two or three, like maximum is usually 3 for a visa that I can stay in, because I have the privilege of a German visa, which like German passport, which gets me into most countries on a like 3-month basis. Like it's very nice. But yeah, so usually I just stay a little bit because that way I can just establish a base, calm down, like just walk around to get a vibe. And then I can do some specific sightseeing or maybe exploration. So there is no pressure, and it's all about curiosity and exploration. And since I work online, I can do this. Like, I know not everybody has that privilege, you know, to just go up and like live somewhere. And it's so funny when you tell people like you're a digital nomad and like, oh yeah, in Tokyo, I lived in these places, and then you tell them like it was a month, and people are like, yeah, that doesn't count because you're not a local, you're not integrated, you don't have, like, I get that, it's a different lifestyle, but it's just entirely different if you just experience maybe even the red tape and all of the things that go with, like, I have my favorite grocery stores, I have like my favorite parks, I just live in a place, and it's like this time continuum shift. The last time I was in Seoul, I was there for I think 2 weeks. It felt like a month in the best way. And so it's just, it feels like time just expands.
It does feel like that.
And then you meet locals and you hear their stories and you run into like typical problems, and then you experience culture differently than if you're just staying in a resort and like going on a guided tour. You know, it's different. So it's
different.
Living somewhere, even if it's a short time. Like I lived in England for 8 months, and then Australia for 8 months, Sweden for 7. I got a pretty good glimpse, which is again not the same as being a full-on expat or a full-on resident, but you know, like, who is gatekeeping here? It's annoying.
Exactly. I agree. I think it's just amazing. Like, you can stay somewhere for a short time. I mean, because even like we have like a house in Nigeria. Then we used to have a house that was like outside of London. So it was in the UK, but it was like south of England, southeast England. And so going there, it was like all quiet. And I was stayed there so much in that other house, which was like a family house and holiday house. And it's near like Brighton. It was actually near Brighton, so not too far from there. And so it's funny because the whole of in a way, there's this big, long, like, it's almost like a long road to get to Brighton, but there's 3 different parts. And there's 3 different beaches because of that. So there was this beach, like the Worthing Beach, there is the Brighton Beach, and there's like another beach. And it's so funny because it's almost like, wow, how can there be like 3 beaches in one little area? Like, this is a 20-minute drive, you know, it's like, yeah. So, but what it taught me, because I used to think, oh, I want to stay here. I love this place. It's just amazing, this, that, and the other. And then I realized, hold on a minute. They only, like in Brighton, they only have like one shopping area.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is mainly it. Yeah, there are some other stores and so on and so forth, but the main area to shop is just one place. And I thought, this is like just like a local area in London, like just
like a small town.
It's a small, and I was like,
it is quite boring if you. I would imagine if you live there. Like I met local artists. I think that is a great place to live as an artist, to just go out and create and like live in the. But if you just are like a party person, if you just constantly want to mingle and see your fans, go shopping and decorate, it's not the place.
No, it's really, I mean, it's like, I think everything seems nice, like a bit similar to what you were saying before. There's the pros and cons. So it's like, yes, lovely. I love it. It's really cool. And then you start to realize, oh, but it's not like home, or it's not like this place, and so there's always something. So if you're in London, it's too noisy, it's too loud, until you go somewhere really quiet, and then you're like, oh my goodness, I can't wait to get back to London. What am I doing?
Right.
So yeah, it's quite an amazing adventure, traveling and just like seeing the different cities, hearing different accents, exploring different countries and different languages. The food, like sometimes I can't eat in the country. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is not my food. But then I go back a few years later and I'm like, oh my goodness, I love the food now. Like, what did you do to your food? You've changed it, you know?
Yeah. No, and for me, certain foods that I had in certain countries, I can only eat them in that country. Anything else is not good enough. And then I will be, and it makes me seem like, oh, I'm a picky princess. And I'm like, I want this food to be mind blowing. If I can't have that, I will not have it. I will not spoil this experience, because food for me is not sustenance, it is an experience. And for me, if I eat certain foods or listen to certain music, it will transport me to that experience, that place, that moment. And I don't want it to be diluted. So for me, it has a very sentimental value, eating certain type of food, because you can't replicate that properly in another country. Like when I was in Sweden and then there a bunch of different cakes and I came home, tried to make them, couldn't, because the water is different, our yeast was different. And people don't know. So like they're so like, and I'm just like devastated. And people like the dramatic. I'm like, yes, because it is a dramatic issue for me. Like, I need to go travel back now. Like, that's not sustainable either.
It's that exactly. I think there is definitely that as well. Like, just this, it's quite interesting. The food, like sometimes you're like, yeah, I can eat it here, but I can't eat anywhere else. That's happened to me quite a lot, especially like I think in Bulgaria, I sometimes used to eat a lot of the ham there. Like I would eat the ham there, but it's like when I'm in London, I do not eat ham, as in like I just don't, there's something I don't eat in London, and it's like, oh, it's only okay if I'm in Bulgaria. It's right.
Isn't that funny? I have the same thing. Yeah. Oh, Bulgarian food is so good though.
Oh, it's so delicious. Definitely.
I love shopska.
Oh,
I converted my family to eating mostly just chopska salad. If they make salad, it's chopska. And if there's new people coming, they're always like, it's the colors of the Bulgarian flag. I'm like, I'm so proud of you. Like, oh my god, you're telling people that.
Like you have such a wide range of experience of the cultures, and I just think that I mean, anyone watching, anyone listening, I just feel like you just have to travel. It's something that no one tells people.
I tried. I fail all the time. It's the thing. It's why I wish it was more accessible. It's why I wish it was like mandatory in schools all over the world.
Exactly.
Ideally, not very realistically, but like maybe we'll get there. Who knows? But even a school trip, even like my very first school trip abroad, which was England, and it's always been my dream to go to England. I always felt this connection with the language. Like I learned English for funsies when I was 8, and I never stopped. And just like as an extracurricular, I was that nerd girl who just practiced English by herself and for fun. And so we had this trip to England, and it was a school trip, so they gave us lots of tasks, which I think they graded. I don't know. But it was just, here's a question, a bunch of questions, and I want you to fill it out, like ask the people on the street, whatever, I don't care, and then give it back to the teacher to give you feedback. I don't know. So we were constantly like scheduled in, like we didn't really have much time to do anything. Obviously, I wanted to keep us on a tight leash, so we didn't like run off, which, with kids, you never know. And so I got all of these questions, and I was the most shy and awkward girl, and I would never speak up in class. Teachers were really annoyed with me because I knew all the answers, but I never said it. I was constantly afraid of like doing the wrong thing, like making, oh my goodness. Like I was just so anxious. And so there I was with my group, and none of them wanted to talk to people. And I am very competitive. I was like, I need to make this happen. Like I need us to be correct. I need to get these answers. And so I took it upon myself to just walk up to the first person like, hey, mister, we have all of these questions. Do you know any of the answers? I was just like not having it because I didn't get cooperation from my teammates. And then he was the nicest dude. He was like, oh, certainly. And then he just like guided us around the vicinity, and he asked a bunch of people, and like the entire area of that district helped us fill in the stuff.
Wow.
we didn't have to do anything. We just like went along with it. And my teammates suddenly were super shy. And I was the one like talking to all of these random people. I was like, who is this person? I don't know her. And there was one question that we couldn't answer. Nobody knew. It was some weird fountain that had some solar application, whatever, like solar powered something. He was like, I don't know, but I'm happy to make something up for you. And he just made up a story and like wrote a full thing about it. And we won. I still have the mug. We won like a Union Jack mug. And I still have it to this day. It's like one of my most precious mugs.
My goodness, that was so interesting.
That was like 20 years ago. And I still have it. I still have it. So it's that. It's my best.
So funny.
And so that's how trouble can impact you. Like this weird shy girl suddenly like wins this mug. But it's like
exactly one of mug. Like, and it's something that everyone loves to collect, and that's why I'm not surprised you still have it. So,
but it's mostly about the just the implication of just like I did that. Like nobody would have believed it that I did that. Like you talk to people and you talk to English. Like, I mean, like, how old was I? 14?
Oh my goodness, you were bold.
Yes, I don't know what happened. It was really just the competitive side in me was just like, rah,
But
like, I gotta win, y'all. Like, what's this? I don't know. And it's really like I love this experience because we were put into families, and the one thing was like they gave you a little bit late, like already on the bus from Dover, they gave us questionnaires like what it is that we cannot actually do. Like they asked us for allergies. I'm like highly allergic to everything. And so I was like, they asked us for if I'm allergic to animals. I was like, I didn't fill that out. I was like, maybe there's a chance they have cats. I love it. And I was like, I didn't put it in. And so they actually, like, they remembered somebody was allergic. Somebody else was put in the home that I was supposed to be in, but because I didn't tick the box, which was amazing because their home was kind of shitty. Sucks for them, sorry. But our home was the most amazing. We had the most amazing family. They were so funny. They were so humorous. And I realized that humor doesn't translate if you don't really get the language. I was constantly sitting there. They were laughing at themselves, at their jokes, like dad jokes left, right. And I was like, what? I was trying to like wrap my way around like the way they were talking. And I just like I was like best buddies with everybody. Like I fed the little kids. They were like 3 and 4 at the dinner table. I learned what tickling means. Like and they made apple pie for us. And it was actually also the week that Queen Mom died. I was just right there. Like, oh, now we have to like sit like very solemnly in this one TV room. And then everybody was watching the TV and like at Westminster Abbey. We were like, I don't know how to behave. Like, what face do I have to make? Do I have to say something? We didn't learn how to say condolences in our class. Like, I was like completely overwhelmed. We were just standing there, like looking on the floor. We're like, okay, demure. And then he would say like, joke is like, what if they tripped and she fell out? And everybody was, oh my goodness, say that. And I think, sorry, this reminds me, like, you're just actually cool and chill about it. We were like, oh, okay.
Wow. Sorry, I was just thinking of when Meghan Markle was talking about like the courtesy of the Queen, and she was like, she didn't know what to do. And I think that sometimes, I think as British people, sometimes like when we live here, we think people get everything. No, we forget that people are international and sometimes they don't know certain things. So I kind of understand what you're saying. Like, even though, and you're very young as well, so you probably didn't know what to do. I mean,
generally, I wouldn't know. But I was 14, I think. And they didn't tell us. Like, they were just like, we were just watching this ceremony. And I think on us, they were like, oh, look, all of the all of the flags are half-mast. We were like, what does that even mean? Like, I wouldn't even know German. And they were like, yeah, the Queen Mom died. And I was like, who's Queen Mom? Oh, it's the mom of the Queen. I was just like they didn't give us any information.
Yeah, any information.
The teachers didn't give us anything. They just like, here's the house, goodbye. And then we were standing there, we were like, so do we have to be like so solemn now? And like, how do you behave? Because like, does she mean something to you? Or like, do we have to wear black now? Like, there was no decorum. So like, no socialities. Yeah, I needed like a script, like give me guidelines, I will do it. But just generally, I'm like pretty sucky at social, like reading social situations. Just generally, my ADHD is making it difficult. Like, tell me what I need to do, or like what the vibe is, I will do it. But
Yeah.
but just this like this humor, even like in this dark moment, like this dark humor just like blew me off. I was like, oh, okay, so this is this kind of, that's what I got from this trip, this kind of duality of being British, like being so like following like a certain etiquette like some way, even today,
Yes.
but also being so lax about and subversive, like so very I don't know, meta.
It's kind of interesting because it's like we can make in the UK, like for example with Camilla, they made Queen. So you make sense what you're saying in the sense of like this is meant to be something that everybody's clapping for. Like, oh wow, this is, and you, so if you start saying it's amazing, somebody might say, what do you mean? Like because they're thinking of Diana and Princess Diana. That so it's sometimes like it's meant to be a good thing, and to some people it really is. But to others, they're like, how dare you be happy or something? Because like somebody posted something about Lady Diana, Princess Diana on TikTok, and they'll say that how she actually, they'll say something very nasty. And I was like, this is disrespectful to the British culture. You and being disrespectful and insensitive. It's almost like you don't even go there when you speak about Princess Diana. You don't say a bad thing. You know, but then other people, if they're not aware of our culture, they won't really know that. So they'll think that they can just give their own mind and their own thoughts, but they don't understand the dearness that she holds. And then sometimes, like, for example, when Margaret Thatcher passed away, a lot of people they weren't sad. They were actually very, in a way, rejoicing, which was very sad, but they were actually happy in the UK. And so if you had said, oh, I'm so sad, they would be angry with you. So
so you have to tread carefully, because it's not just about there's a human that died, but there's like a whole lot of political and personal orientation things. Yeah. And in some countries, if you say something negative about the monarch, you could get, put in prison for treason. Like if you go
it can be.
Did say something about it. There's so many different places around the world where you have to, where you just don't have this kind of cultural knowledge that, locals would think is common courtesy and common sense, but then just because you've been raised, and like that's what I find when I travel and come back, the reverse culture shock is usually what gets me when I'm like starting to question how ludicrous everything kind of is, like all of these rules, looking from a different cultural lens, like the classics are different, like blowing your nose. Like in Germany, you can blow your nose, especially if you're like a dad, then suddenly the entire neighborhood will know. It's like, I don't know what they do with their nose. It must be exploding, but it's loud. And then if you go to Japan, you have to excuse yourself. You can't just wipe your nose even. You have to go to the toilet and do it discreetly. Nobody can see.
Really?
Yeah, like there's little things like that, or like wiping your butt, or do you use water? Like, what the way that the doorknob goes. Like, there's so many little things that people don't understand. Like, at one point, I locked myself in a toilet in Sweden and couldn't get out because I forgot that I have to twist the doorknob a certain way. It made no sense to me, and people were laughing on the other side. They're like, "Oh my god, you're being so jealous." I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm stuck." Like stuff like that. It's stupid. Yeah, but I take it for granted.
Yeah, oh my, you're so right. Like I remember when we were in Amsterdam and even Dubai as well. Like we were on the Dubai. I think it was. I forgotten whether they've got a subway or was it the metro. But we were on their train or their tube. Yeah, their version of the tube. I think it was the metro or subway, whichever. But let's just say it was the metro. So we were on that, and I love to have my water and my my snack or something. But they have a sign that says no chewing gum, and it was like no chewing gum, no food, no drink. Like if you do, you're gonna be fined. I think
no bubble gum can be imported. It's really bad.
Oh, so you can't chew gum in the country full stop?
Yeah, don't even put it into your bag. If they will find it, you get into actual trouble.
So, oh wow, this is like that's another level because I mean, in the UK we have things like if you drop rubbish on the floor. Like, if you drop rubbish on the floor, you can be fined. I mean,
nobody unfortunately is.
Exactly. Not in a general sense. You have to, like, the police would, if they see you do that, it's not, they might just always pick it up. They're not going to say, oh, we're going to fine you. It's not going to be a big deal.
Same in Germany.
Yeah. But
dog poop.
Oh, by the way, actually, I think I should even change that because the rubbish thing is not even that serious. dog poop is, that is definitely, you can be fined. A person can be fined for that. That's like a real thing. Yeah, it's real. But I think in the UK, people that live here can navigate. So they know how to talk the talk. So it's like, oh, I'm not paying that. No, I'm not doing that. Like, or because of the attitude, people, they're not even going to enforce it. But if you go to another country, like, they may know that. They may know that they're not going to enforce it because, like, oh, just ignore. But we don't know that. So we're like, I dare not have gum, or I dare not, like, drink my water on the subway, or we start to be so prim and proper. Like, when I went to Dubai, I was like, oh my goodness, I wore the longest, everything was long, and I had my long cardigan, and then I had my tights, black tights, really thick, and I was walking around, and I was like, I'm baking hot, but you know what? I'm following the protocols, until I met someone. Me and my family, there was a few of us, family and friends, and we bumped into this guy, and he was like, I started actually looking around as well. I was looking around, I was like, hold on a minute. How comes we've got these young ladies, they've got like shorts on, I mean, I'm seeing their legs, and I'm like, hold on a minute. Why am I wearing these thick black tights with my long cardigan and no answer? And I said to him, are you, and I saw people kissing, and I'm like, hold on a minute, they're kissing as well. Like, I spoke to the guy, I was like, are we allowed to kiss in Dubai? Are we allowed to wear tights? Do we have to wear this? He's like, no, that's nonsense. He goes, wear what you want. I didn't care. And I was like, what? So I've been wearing these thick clothes for nothing. And so it just goes back to what you said. Like, people sometimes assume things based on, I read a book, or people say it on social media, and it's like, oh, you better not wear this, you better not do that. And it's true sometimes in some places, but
Oh yeah, some people underestimate that and then they get into serious trouble.
into serious trouble. Yes, it could be. And sometimes it's to do with the part, like maybe this part is okay, this touristy part, but then this part is like, don't you dare. Because if we were going to, we were so close to Abu Dhabi where we were, and we were like, oh, we want to get to Abu Dhabi, right? 2 hours away. Just get on the metro or the subway, you go. But if I had done that, I think I forgot that I didn't dress for it. So if I just was like, oh, we're near, let's just quickly hello, we want to make sure we're dressed properly. So, because maybe it's going to be different there. So
You gotta do your research. You gotta ask other travelers or locals.
exactly.
That's why I love these Facebook groups where you can just like, hey, I'm going to this place. Because like, even when I go to a new city and I check in, I always ask, where can I go? When can I go? Like some places are like, oh yeah, you can go anywhere, but after 10 p.m. avoid these districts. Or like, you can go anywhere, but the district around the train station and stuff like that. Right? Because yeah, they know.
It's real.
If you ask women.
Exactly.
Because so many, I'm still so peeved. There's so many travel bloggers, especially male travel bloggers, or just maybe exclusively. They're like, oh yeah, I travel everywhere. Like, I'm in Iran, it's totally fine. And like, yeah, but you have different sets of privileges. You can do a lot of things. You're not in tune to all of the harassment that could be thrown your way. And, I always get different responses from, different types of travelers. That's why I always ask the women. Like, I don't ask them, I ask them for like tips, like what cool stuff to see, but I don't ask them about security, because sometimes I get laughed at. They're like, oh, it's safe. Like, don't be like ridiculous. And they just dismiss it. I'm like, okay, now you're just making it like into a mean comment, even though it is like, when you ask for safety, that doesn't mean that you have to be scared or worried or judgmental. No. It's just a prerequisite. It's just normal. And also, like with the guy who was beaten up in Dublin, he didn't take it seriously, the advice from a local. And he was very specific about the timing and the places. He was like, don't go to these parks. This is when drugs. I'm like, oh, like, it's like they have the, as a local, you have a mental map of what districts do what or have a reputation.
Exactly. Like, definitely, there are some, and like you said, things can happen anywhere, but when you would know that, just based on your knowledge and wisdom and your common sense and just based on experience, like, okay, this area is not good at this so time. Don't go through there. Don't go that way on your own. Like most alleyways at night, it's not recommended to go through an alleyway or go through the dark park at a certain time and stuff. So yeah, but in the daytime, it's like you enjoy it. You go there, like stuff.
So even like, have you ever been to New Orleans?
No, but I've been to. I wish I had. I've been to Pennsylvania, Ohio, and New York. So those are the only ones I've been to, and I've kind of gone past North and South Carolina, but I didn't get to stop.
Nice, they were good. No, but in New Orleans, I had the weirdest things. Like, I mean, there's a lot of haunted tours, and like I saw my fair share of things I can't explain. But like that aside, I was staying pretty far out of the city center, and I was just asking them, like, because after I had an incident where I was clearly in the wrong neighborhood, and suddenly everybody came out of the doors to stare at me and like make me feel I'm not welcome. I was like, damn this. Wrong turn. I just wanted to go to Walmart. I'm sorry. Yeah, that was a bad move. And then I went like to a hostel. And I was like, so I walked here. And they were like, I'm glad you survived it. I'm like, oh yeah, me too. And then I was like, so tell me where else I can survive things. And he was like, yeah, these districts, never this street. The next street's fine, but not this street. The other ones are fine, but this street ever and never. And more people kept repeating that to me. Like I went on a couple of tours, and they were all ghost tours. So they were all at night, fun for me. And going back was the great part. And like one of them, he was like, so yeah, this is the street. It's totally fine in the day in the French Quarter, but like the next street, once my friend went in there and then he never came out. Well, we told him, knew that, so it's on him. Anyway, I was like, what? Like he just said it so casually. He was like, yeah, everybody knows he can't go in there after 10 p.m. And he did it, so he's not gone. And I was like, are you is this just for shock value for the tourists? I don't know. But I was shocked. I was seriously shocked. And then also the fact that they do that. So like I take it with a grain of salt. But like there's this typical tourist scam where, you want to go to the cemetery because they're all pretty cool. They're built above ground because everything's swampy. And, so they like to take the tourists there, but also sometimes tourists want to go there by themselves. So the main cemetery, they locked off. You can't go unless you have a knowledgeable guide with you, right? Because they would have robbers be hiding behind the tombstones, jumping out at you like with a little snap knife and like threatening you for your money, for your life. And then they would just kill people every now and then because the tourists wouldn't know. And so I was like, no. I'm not going to go to the cemetery, thank you very much.
No. Oh my goodness. That is nice. It is quite like the things that can happen abroad. There's so many, anywhere, but
yeah, it's so fascinating if you just blindly rock up like I usually do. But then I always like, okay, tell me what I should definitely avoid. I will do that. And then just listen to yourself. Like I was in Cape Town once, had a great time, was by myself walking around. And I wanted to go to a specific restaurant I found online, and it would Google Maps put it in the wrong road. I don't know, it was messed up. Couldn't find it, and so I was walking around this Bokap, where all the tourists go for the pretty colorful houses. And I was chill. Nobody was on the road. I had been there with a tour, didn't think of it, and I just walked around by myself. And then I couldn't find a place, so I saw a woman with her kids. I was like, yeah, women with kids, are safe because they won't probably attack you and run away because they have kids. It's a safe bet to ask moms. And so I went to this lady like, hey, can you tell me where this restaurant is? And she looked at me with fear in her eyes, and she grabbed my elbow and she dragged me off. She's like, no, you're safe. This street is okay. Don't come back here. Okay. And I was like, lady, she's like, no, you don't come back. You're not looking for this place. And then she just walked off, and I was trying to sneak back in, and so she yelled from across the road. She's like, I see you, girl. Go back. I was, oh my gosh. Okay, lady. Okay, I get it.
Oh my goodness, that is so funny. That's so good and so funny. And it's quite interesting because, I remember there was this event I was at, and you see, I know it sounds really bad, but there is this back in the day, King's Cross is a place that was associated with I wouldn't say more, but prostitute, dot. Yeah. So it was associated with that. And so I went to this conference, and this wonderful man, I mean, he is this great, one of the academics, right? And he is so perfect in the sense that he is educated, he's a great man. And he was like, and I said, oh, have you been in London? And, everybody was on the table and stuff, and he was just like, oh yeah, I've been to King's Cross, and I really, and I was just like, don't say that.
I thought you didn't know what he was saying.
Yeah,
implication of saying he's been to King's.
Yeah. Of all places, I was like, he goes, huh? I was like, yeah, I'll tell you later. I'll tell you later.
Really? You just saw it and then moved along.
Yeah, he probably just didn't even know really what that was. He's such a prim and proper man, and so wonderful. He didn't, but it's just the way that I heard it, and anyone that knows of this, is the first thing you think is just you're not going to think like they went there to go to a nice hotel or a nice restaurant. They're going to think immediately, oh, like, why did you go there for, of all places? So I was like, yeah, don't say that. I'll tell you why later. He was like, okay. I was like, yeah, don't. But so, funny, and I remember we were in Amsterdam once, me and my mother, and we were going to this, speaking at a university, we were invited, and my mother was like, she ran for the actual, was it the metro? She ran for the metro or the subway. I don't know. There's all these different names. We have a tube, So yeah, she ran, right? And she wanted to like run and then tap it and open it and just, and classic. So in the UK, you can do that. Like, I mean, even if it's annoying, it's not going to get you it's no big deal like here. I mean, I've never known anyone to be in trouble for doing that. It's almost like, okay, no, like whatever, they don't care.
Why would you get into trouble? Yeah, it opens or it doesn't. Like
exactly. But there's €100 fine. So you're gonna pay €100 if you do that. So my mom was like running like that, and then the lady, the wonderful lady that was with us, she was like, "No, don't do that because you're gonna get fined." How much is the fine? Oh, 100 and something euros. And it's like, what? So it's like, hey, whoa, something that we do in the UK and take for granted. It's like in Amsterdam, no, don't you dare.
Or in Germany, you cannot show people your middle finger or like show them that you're crazy. Like if you do gestures like that, you can get fined, especially if you're for a police officer or like verbally is like saying mean things to people. You can get sued for slander.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, something that we take for granted in in America, in the UK, I don't think anyone, especially here, like people will get the middle finger every minute. Like anyway,
I know. I'm always so surprised. I'm like, well, you can flip people off, like, and get away with it.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, it's like when we're even talking and we're not even swearing. Like somebody can be saying like, they can say stuff, just to my trigger warning swear moment. So somebody could say something like, "Shut up." I love saying "shut up." Yeah, they can be like, "Shut up, shut up, shut," and that just means no way, no. Yeah, exactly. So they can be like, they can do the F word, the F, F version as well, like, F off, F on, like, and just really swear and just be like, and it's like, but they actually don't. So someone that's like an elderly senior from Nigeria or from Ghana or something, they're gonna think,
how rude.
My mom sometimes, like, I mean, we don't do that to my mom, don't get me wrong, but like sometimes when we're talking, I'll just be like, oh, it's not a big deal. And then she'll be like, that's not how we speak in my culture, my country. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. It's just the,
it's different.
It's the way the country, it's just our slang, it's our culture. It's nothing, we don't mean it like that. So if I'm speaking with my siblings, they get it. Like if you're like, shut up. No way. They don't get it. But if I said to my mom, I wish I wouldn't, but if I tried to say, shut up, she would. Oh, sorry. Oh, God.
It's okay. Keep talking.
Yeah. Oh, God. So she would basically think, have you lost your mind? Have you literally lost it? You can't even say a word out of line. You have to make sure everything is in line. So, yeah.
Stressful. Or like even like the example of the C word, CUNT. For Americans, it's like, oh, absolutely not. But you can say it in the UK, you can say it in Australia. It was even this huge campaign with Northern Territory where they basically spelled it out as like, come to visit us, and then they just no. It was a huge thing because that is the humor there, And then that would have still landed differently in the UK. Couldn't have pulled that off. Definitely not in the US. So it's so interesting how to experience other cultures' understanding of things. Like even I don't even want to go there, but like even Black culture, from what I've seen, like it's completely different experience, obviously in different countries, and so so many times like people put their own experience and their own perceived stuff onto other cultures and get offended for other cultures in a context that they can't quite understand. They might still be problematic, but it's different. Like for me as a German, people often like to joke about the NAZIS, and I'm like, absolutely not. You do not tell. It's a non-topic. do not mention that
yes.
person.
100%.
And sometimes people try to bond with me over it. I read that book. I'm like, it is forbidden in Germany. Nobody can read the book. Like, don't comment me with the book. And then you learn something from it. I'm like, excuse me, you learned something. Just burn it. It's just like, don't read it. Burn it. Like,
Wow.
it's like that specific book, not books in general. I do not want that application. Okay. But, so many people have not the sensitivity, or there's like even a lot of countries even, like there's some countries that make it into like a fun museum theme, like collectibles everywhere. Those are actually heavily finable in Germany. You can't have memorabilia from the same right.
Wow.
Like, you can't have that. For good reason. So
yes, for good reason.
A lot of people don't understand that, and they still think like, oh, is he still in power? I'm like, hey, you're uneducated, and how dare you?
Yeah, like that's the thing. It's like when we are very aware, and it, and there's been that. Yeah, I think the word is awareness. When people really get it now, it's oh my goodness, this is really, really sensitive. This is a very, very serious, a very, very horrible thing that happened. It's almost like it's forbidden. It's forbidden, And there was a time when some things that were some racist things, it was a little bit more laughable at some points. And then there's been a lot of changes in the law and policies, and even with discrimination.
But the discussion is important, like where it's like the N-word, right? Like it's so important that we talk about it. And it's like, that's not how I meant it, but it's about how people hear it. It's not about your mentality and intention. It's the other person who has to hear that word and has implications and feels less than because of it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter how you meant it. You can just like tell everybody like, oh, you're a bitch. And you're like, I mean it in a fun way. It's not for you to decide. If I don't want to be called a bitch or an N, then you don't get to do that. It's just boundaries.
Exactly. This boundaries. And I think, because that is the thing as well, like some cultures, they just do it. They're like, oh, you bees, and they say women are that. And I'm just like, I am not, that is not.
Yeah. If you want to talk to your friends like that and they're fine, that's different. But I am not. I'm not comfortable. And
it's not a nice slang to me. Like,
no, it's not.
I don't find it like, I don't. Yeah. And they see it like claim it. They call the bees women. That's meant to be women. Yeah. To me, it's like, no, that's disrespect. Like, it's okay for if that's what you want to do, but me, I don't want to be called that name. And it's not funny to me. It's not
females. Just like, am I just like a biological like thing now? Female, like it's dehumanizing. Anyway, oh my god, we could talk about language and all of that.
There's a lot of things, and the thing it is about the tone, though, isn't it? It's like it's about the tone. It's about like, and
just being open to hearing what it does to people, because you can say things, especially in a cultural sense, where you're like not like you mistranslated something, you misunderstood it. It's like you missed something in the etiquette in Japan, which is like all the time. Right? It's like, but then you're still like, oh no, I did something wrong. I will like backtrack. I will learn. I will do better. Like, because you always make mistakes, but it's when you're willing to be like, I take responsibility for that. I'm sorry.
That is it. Because
it's not that you're a bad human for doing it. If you're unaware of it, it's how you deal with the results.
Yeah, especially once you know, because usually we all have like, and there's one time to get it right. So it's like they'll like in my country, Nigeria, you cannot walk over somebody's legs. Like if somebody's legs are out and you walk over it, they'll say walk back over. This is no.
Oh, it's like a suggestion. Like in
yes.
Like Bali, you can't touch people's heads. Oh, like you can't just do like pull out someone's strand of hair. Like don't touch people's heads. They're whole sacred.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, like when you see a kid or whatever, like you shouldn't touch strange kids anday.
Mm-hmm.
But like don't.
You might want to touch like but it's
I mean, it's generally you shouldn't touch people's heads, but like like go up to someone's hair, like like, oh, you've got beautiful braids, can I touch it? No, you can't. Oh, but so many people still anyway. Yeah, oh my gosh, we could go on and on about this, but I think we covered so much, and I hope there was a lot of points that can help people, I don't know, see things a little bit differently. If they can't travel, they can like vicariously travel through our story.
Exactly, that is it. I agree.
Yeah, and I hope it makes sense out of context. It's so hard to really convey what change travel evokes. It is so hard, and I always try. It's like one of the biggest things I'm always trying to talk about travel, not as a way to brag, but as a way to help people see differently. Like it just makes us more whole, I think.
Exactly, 100%. It does. It kind of creates awareness. It creates just expansion. We expand when we travel. We expand. We see the world, and we start appreciating cultures and accents and languages and differences. Because sometimes it's easy to just be narrow-minded and be like, oh, people could be like very discriminative and ageist or sexist or racist or whatever it would be. But guess what? When they go to another country and realize that they're a foreigner in that country and no one can understand them, that's when they realize the power of the other thing. Oh, the sound is gone for some reason.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, I had to go. So I'm going to wrap it up now.
So yes.
No, you're so right. And yeah, like I said, we could go on and on about this, but is there anything you want to leave the audience with that we haven't touched upon yet? Any place, and then where they can find you as well.
Oh, okay, awesome. Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much for having me, Annemarie. And it's been so lovely to be on your podcast and to be with this lovely audience that you have that I know are watching and listening from all over the world. So what I would love to leave you with is most certainly try and book your dream holiday or try and go somewhere that you've always wanted to go to. Whether that's this year or by this time next year, I really believe that it will change your life. Traveling is life-changing. It's a way to explore all the beautiful places and spaces that you've always wanted to explore. And it's also a way to just let go of narrow-mindedness, small-mindedness, feeling superior, or anything that you feel that makes you culturally unaware. So I hope you do go for it, and I hope you've been enjoying all of our discussion. And I'm over on Instagram at Queen Chioma. I am on Twitter at Queen Chioma, TikTok at Queen Chioma Official, and my website is queenchiomamedia.com. And yeah, so you can find me there, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you so much. It was such a wonderful discussion. And yeah, do check out all of our channels, say hi, and leave your feedback. And if you are in need of any PR related or speaking related projects, and do reach out to Queen.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much for being here. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning into this podcast episode. As always, if you want to connect with Queen and I, you can go down to the show notes or the description below and tap any of the links to your favorite social media platform to reach out to us, to say hello, to comment on this episode, and maybe even leave your own thoughts on what it means to travel the world, how it impacts you, or where you want to go, maybe even, because there's so many ways you can travel, there's so many goals it can lead to, there's so many visions it can inspire, and it means something to everybody else, to anybody. It means something different to everybody. Oh my gosh, I'm stumbling over my words. I'm so excited. I don't even know how to sort my thoughts. So on top of that, I'm gonna just sort my thoughts out in peace and just gonna end this episode. And hope you tune into the next episode next week, because this is a weekly podcast. And if you've missed any of the previous episodes, they're all there. You can just download them on any of the big streaming platforms which you're probably on right now. So I wish you a fabulous day, and I see you soon. Bye!